Houck from Cooking by Moonlight, and I'm here today to show you how to make a ricotta cream dessert. I'm actually going to make ice pops that have the flavor of cannoli filling. If you're not familiar with cannolis, they're an Italian, actually a Sicilian pastry dessert. It's a fried pastry shell, and it's usually piped filled with this rich, almost cheesy filling. Its base is a ricotta cheese, and then people put in all kinds of toppings from there, everything from chocolate chips to chopped up cherries or even pistachios. Today I'm going to use chocolate chips as my add-in. So to start this dessert, we're going to make it just like you would a cannoli filling, but I'm going to put it in the blender to try and get a nice smooth creamy texture so that the ice pops have a really delicious flavor, almost like ice cream. I'm going to start with a half cup of whole milk ricotta cheese and put that right into the blender. And to that, I'm going to add a quarter cup of heavy cream. If you want a little bit of a lighter dessert, you can use half and half here in place of the cream, and it shouldn't make too big of a difference. Again, that's 1/4 cup of the heavy cream right into the blender. And then to sweeten it up, I'm going to add 1/3 cup of powdered sugar. The powdered sugar is going to give it a kind of nice and sweet texture without being gritty like a granulated sugar may be in an ice pop. So we're going to put that 1/3 cup of powdered sugar in there. And now I'm going to add in some orange zest. A lot of times cannolis have orange zest in them. If you're not a fan of an orange flavor, you can definitely omit this ingredient. So I'm going to take my orange and get just about 1/8 teaspoon of the zest. You really don't need a lot here. This is that violin method of zesting, so you can see what you're getting. A lot of people will use a method called the washboard method, where they'll do it like this. But then it gets all on the counter and you can't see what you're getting, and now you have to scrape it into your hand. This really works much better. And now just a pinch of cinnamon. For me, a pinch is about 1/8 teaspoon, but if you like cinnamon, you can add just a little bit extra. All right, there's our cinnamon. I'm going to put the lid on the blender and blend this until it's smooth. It should take about 45 seconds. All right, now that everything is nice and smooth, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of milk. That milk will just help to loosen up the ice pop batter so that the popsicle has a really nice creamy texture. We're going to pulse it one more time just to get everything nice and smooth. All right, everything in here is all nice and processed. And I'm going to add in 1/3 cup of chocolate chips. These are mini chocolate chips. I think it makes for a better ice pop because you don't get a giant chunk of chocolate. Chocolate freezes really hard. And so if you have a giant chunk, it is really something quite crunchy and difficult to eat in your popsicle. This recipe makes a little over a cup of batter, which is perfect for me because I'm using 4 molds that are 1/4 cup each. You should measure out your ice pop molds before you make this and see how much batter they're going to need to create the whole set. I have another set of ice pop molds that are 6 at 1/3 cup each and another that are 4 at 1/2 cup each. So you really need to know how much batter you need in the end and adjust the recipe. I'm just going to pour that batter in there. And since the ricotta cheese does have such a thick and creamy texture, those chocolate chips are going to be suspended right in the middle of those ice pops, and it's going to make a really cool looking popsicle. Once this is in here, since it is a little bit cheesy like cannoli filling, it may take just a little longer to set than an ice pop you've made before, like let's say a juice ice pop, because of all the cheesy goodness in there. So I would expect these to take between 4 to 6 hours to be completely solid. I would say your better bet is even to leave them in overnight. After your popsicles have had about 4 hours to set up, you're going to pull them out of the freezer, and they should be nice and frozen. I use these little silicone popsicle molds because they're just a little bit easier to get the popsicles out of. You don't have to bang it on the kitchen sink or anything. You can see the chocolate chips are nice and interspersed all throughout it, and they have this very creamy, rich flavor exactly like the center of a cannoli. My popsicle recipe made about a cup of batter. And so if you're using, I used 4 ice pop molds that were 1/4 cup each. So if your ice pop molds are a little bit bigger, you're going to have to increase the recipe. I'd suggest measuring out the size of your ice pop molds before you start. I'm Houck from Cooking by Moonlight, and this was how to make a ricotta cream dessert.